Hey, y'all, Gary here with Tennessee Stands. Hey, look, everybody's been talking about the budget, which includes giving the Tennessee Titans $500 million for a new domed stadium in Nashville. Conservatives across the state have already raised a lot of hell about giving Ford $1 billion last year to build their new blue oval city in Tennessee, in West Tennessee. But now we're doing it again. And look, it's not only $500 million to the Titans. It's $17 million to NASCAR for a racetrack. It's, million here, million there, $1 billion here. Not to mention that the entire budget is 25% larger than last year. Now, after everything we've been to as a state, whenever you were told you were not essential, closed your business, gas prices are soaring, families are struggling, and the state, however, is in a multi-billion-dollar surplus, raking in the cash. Well, whose cash could the government possibly be raking in? Well, it's yours. And since they have more of your money, do we want to consider deeper tax cuts? No. We want to increase the budget by 25%, figure out how we can spend it, and give it to the folks that own the Tennessee Titans. Makes perfect sense. But look, what I want to point out to you is not only did it pass, but recently our majority leader in the state Senate, Senator Jack Johnson, went on a ticker tape parade, went on radio. Of course, Tennessee Star pinged out an article that Jack was against this, right? He was against giving $500 million to the Titans. He didn't like it. He felt uncomfortable about it. And Jack was going to fight against this because I don't know if you've heard, but all of a sudden, as of about 3 weeks ago, Jack Johnson's a fighter. He's fighting for us at the Capitol. So he was going to fight against this. So I want to show you. I want to make sure that all of Tennessee knows exactly what it looks like at the Capitol whenever Jack Johnson says he's going to fight for you. So we'll start here. Here's Jack in the Finance, Ways and Means Committee talking about the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've spent a lot of time on this budget. I want to thank the governor's office and Commissioner Ely and all of the folks who worked so hard on this. Most people in this room will know, and most people watching at home, that coming up with a budget like this is at least a year-round project and takes a lot of time, a lot of man-hours. I want to thank this body, not just this committee, but our fellow members of the General Assembly for the fiscal stewardship with which this state has been managed over recent years. When you look at the fiscal condition that this state was in coming into this legislative session, it really is quite remarkable. I believe we were facing a surplus in excess of $3 billion on a recurring basis. This budget, Mr. Chairman and members, doesn't even contemplate roughly $1.3 billion of that recurring surplus. We're utilizing that on a one-time basis, which puts us in an extraordinary position coming into the next fiscal year. I could go through some of the highlights of this budget. Mr. Chairman, we're paying cash for these things. That's pretty remarkable that we are in the situation that we are in. And I'm proud of the budget that this committee has put together with our colleagues in the House. It's a fiscally responsible and a fiscally conservative budget that makes investments in things that we believe are important. And I'll say furthermore that not just things that we think that are important, but things that will save the state money into the future. And that's a really good position to be in. So I will yield to other members, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Chairman yourself about highlights. We continue to cut taxes in Tennessee, and we should be proud of that. This budget has an $80 million tax cut in the form of a grocery tax holiday.
So, Governor, Commissioner Ely, you guys did such a great job on this budget. So look, I want to make clear, because there's Radio Jack and Headline Jack, and then there's like actual state capitol Committee Jack, okay? And Committee Jack says, oh, well, the budget's great. No, I love spending 25% more money. And, I just want to congratulate the governor. He's a great guy. The budget's great. Love the budget. And, by the way, man, we're cutting taxes. So in the month of August, they're going to let you not pay 4% on your food taxes for the month of August. That's the big tax cut. I want to reiterate. While they're giving $500 million to the Titans, and while we operate in such a surplus, per Jack's words, we're just paying out everything cash. To help with the suffering that you're going through right now in Tennessee, you don't have to pay sales tax on your food for the month of August. Congratulations, Tennessee. You just got a tax cut. And that's interesting that Jack thinks that's a tax cut because back in 2017, Jack was instrumental in raising the gas tax. Yet they lowered the food tax, so they raised the gas tax, but they called it a tax cut. This is the kind of shenanigans that go on at the Capitol. But now that you know what he thinks about the budget, because Jack had filed an amendment that was going to take the Titan Stadium money out of the budget. He was going to save us. He was going to save generations of Tennesseans for not paying this ridiculous debt. By the way, you realize we've never paid off the current Nissan Titan Stadium that's been there for over 20 years. We're still paying on that debt. I want to reiterate that point. The stadium that exists today in Nashville, Tennessee, you are still paying on that debt, and we're about to take on another. But we got the cash for it, so why not take on more debt? Who cares? It's a fiscally sound practice to take on the additional debt. Here's what it looks like to have Jack Johnson fighting for you on the Senate floor.
Senator Johnson, you're recognized on House Amendment number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House Amendment number 3 is the House version of the legislative amendment, if you will, that contemplated all of the changes that were made. This amendment is identical to ours, other than it does restore the $55 million in debt service for a bond issue, which will be considered subsequently in the bond bill when we take up the House version of that. Members, I brought you a budget this morning on the floor that I was very proud of. I think it reflected the work of the Senate, and I think it was a good budget. I am not as enamored with this version of the budget. We have two choices. We can't amend a bill on message calendar. We can vote to concur or non-concur. I'm going to move to concur and let members vote their conscience on House Amendment number 3. Move to concur.
Leader Johnson has moved to concur on House Amendment number 3. That's a proper motion, seconded by Senator Yarborough and Chairman Watson. Discussion on House Amendment number 3. Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no.
Hold it, don't close. Close it.
Ayes 18, nays 11.
So here's what you need to understand about what just happened. The Senate version of the budget did not have the stadium in the budget, so they had cut it out. That was Jack's big amendment where he was fighting for you. That was all over the news. But now the House version has now come to the Senate floor, which has the stadium back in the budget. They're giving $500 million to the Titans. They're giving $500 million of your taxpayer money to the Titans. So what you just heard was this is the Senate now concurring with the House and putting that back in the budget. So this is what it looks like for Jack to fight. I passed the budget. Not as enamored with this budget. But, guys, vote your conscience. That's what it looks like to fight for you and to keep Tennessee from giving $500 million of your tax dollars to guys who don't really need it. and really we should be giving more relief to Tennesseans all around the state. And what's important to understand is he said you had two choices. Remember, he said we can concur or non-concur. If Jack would have made a motion to non-concur, that would have forced the House and the Senate to now go into a conference committee and fight it out. That's what a fight could have looked like. They could have gone into conference and actually fought about it and tried to take this out of the budget. But you'll notice, while Jack's fighting for you, he made a motion to concur. So he made a motion to adopt the House version. So the Senate at that point had no option to non-concur, had no option to fight to take the Titan Stadium out of the budget. He took that away from every other senator by making a motion to concur. Lastly, what you'll notice is the most shocking thing of all is he says, I make a motion to concur. Here, watch it again.
I'm going to move to concur and let members vote their conscience on House Amendment number 3. Move to concur.
Leader Johnson has moved to concur on House Amendment number 3. That's a proper motion, seconded by Senator Yarborough and Chairman Watson. Discussion on House Amendment number 3. Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no.
Hold it. Don't close. Close it.
Ayes 18, nays 11.
I make a motion to concur, and then he says, vote your conscience. Well, you saw the vote screen come up. Did you notice that Jack Johnson's name was green? So when he said, I make a motion to concur, vote your conscience, he voted his conscience. He voted to concur. Jack voted to put the stadium back in the bond bill, back in the budget. So he went on 99.7, went on the Tennessee Star, and made a headline, because he's running for re-election, to tell Tennessee that he was going to protect the taxpayer and he was going to fight against this. But on the Senate floor, he made a motion to concur and voted to put the stadium back in the budget. Guys, look, here's the deal. If you think that Jack is going to the state capitol to fight on your conservative values,